That's Drew.
And that's Mike.
And that's Kraig Adams.
What's up, my dudes?
Kraig Adams is a filmmaker who is making quite an impact on YouTube with videos focused on hiking, minimalism, and his unique and beautiful incorporation of the two. His channel currently features stunning hikes from all over the world and has attracted a following of 527,000 subscribers and well over 20 million views. Follow the links in the bio to see all of Kraig's incredible adventures and get inspired to plan some of your own. Kraig, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm looking forward to this very much. So let's get into it. So I have a question to start out. That's not typically how we start. We usually start in the past, but I want to talk to you about minimalism. And it seems as a minimalist, you embrace technology pretty significantly, and I appreciate that. And I want to know, do you think today being a minimalist is easier than it would be 20, 30, 50, 70, 100 years ago? Because now, I think in one of your videos you said, you have a laptop, you have access to the internet, you have any movie, anything. You don't have to have all those items because they're up in the cloud.
Yeah. I don't know what life was like back then, but I think as far as what I do for a career, it is beneficial for me not to have that much stuff, because being a minimalist gives me more freedom of mobility, creativity. Technically, I could move out of here real quick. I'm in a studio apartment in Lower East Side of New York, but my original plan was to be living out of a backpack. And I just don't know what that would have looked like, 10, 20, 30 years ago? Way different. How do you make money traveling abroad, traveling around, shooting videos? There's no YouTube. There's no social media. Right now we're in a wonderful time when you can make a full-time career just with a laptop and an iPhone, to be honest.
Yeah. A lot of people, Mr. Beast started with an iPhone. So it really is as easy as that. That's a great perspective. I think it's the right time to be able to be a minimalist with technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the technology fits the lifestyle that I want, though. It's not the opposite way around. I'm not trying to just have no things because it would be cool. It's for a reason. It provides some kind of benefit.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's go back to growing up. You grew up in upstate New York. Originally, when I put the note, I put northern New York, and I realized there's a better name for it.
It's all up there.
Yeah. So is this where you found your love for hiking and the outdoors?
I grew up hiking in the Adirondacks, which was the closest big mountain area. And as I started to travel the domestic West Coast and then international, I realized they're kind of just little hills. Yeah. So there's a big wide world out there. And the more you travel, the more you realize it's kind of fractal in a sense. There's always something else to explore. So I'm excited about that. I discovered a love for hiking through my brother and my family. They took us on hikes, but it's definitely my younger brother, Curtis, Squirty Turtis, who started hiking a lot more than I was. And he definitely motivated me to get out there more.
And was it just, was it just you two starting to hike at a certain point, or was it continuing to be family, or when did that shift change from a family vacation to I'm going to go hike with Curtis?
Yeah, I was more interested in just the general travel, the lifestyle of traveling, going to hotels, food, and just seeing cool things, culture in a sense. It was he that got me out into nature, actually doing hard hikes. I distinctly remember doing a couple hikes in Colorado and just complaining and thinking to myself, this isn't fun. I'm so tired. I'm so sweaty. What are we doing out here? I've got all this gear. I've got a gimbal. This is stupid. Why are we out here? When I started traveling and starting to hike by myself, it definitely changed. Putting the responsibility of planning the hike and making sure you're safe and successful on a 3 or 4 day hike, that's a lot of responsibility to put on yourself, and that changes. I don't think it's as fun just to follow someone else who's the leader of the hike. Yeah.
Yeah, like you said, it does put a lot more responsibility on you. And Mike and I were talking about that beforehand, and we were wanting to ask you it's obvious that you have to prepare logistically a whole lot for planning a solo hike, but we were curious how you prepare yourself mentally and physically to be able to do that, especially on those long distance hikes where it requires a lot of physical endurance and a lot of physical capability, especially when you're carrying gear. And to do all that and have the confidence in yourself and the awareness to be able to say, I can handle whatever might come at me in this long hike. So yeah, how do you prepare mentally and physically for a long solo hike?
Yeah, there's a lot of research before the hike that people typically don't see, and I'd like to share more of on YouTube. I think that might be interesting, especially in the guide part. The first big solo hike that I did international was Choquequira in Peru, outside of Cusco. And honestly, the first 3 big solo hikes that I did, I was not prepared. As far as expectations of what kind of mileage I could do, I had no idea how to read topographic maps and analyze the trail to know what I could do in what amount of time. I didn't fully understand how important it was to figure out food, where you can get it along the trail, if you can at all. And if you can't, how much food do you have to bring? What's tasty? What are you going to actually want to eat when you're tired and out there and you don't want to cook? And as far as calories and nutrition, and then there's so much that I definitely jumped into the deep end of the pool to start. And I haven't really made any videos focused on beginner hikes. Like your first 3 hikes, I think, are really important. And I should. It's definitely something I'd like to make in the future. Like, how do you figure out how many miles you can hike in a day with X amount of elevation? How much food do you need to bring for a day? How much water? How important is the weather, the temperature? How does the weather and temperature change at different elevations? Like, all of this stuff I've definitely learned the hard way, just getting through it. And I have gone through these hardships, and I think I can impart this knowledge on my subscribers. And I think I should do that in a video. So thank you for giving me the idea.
Yeah, it would be a great idea. I mean, like, I was reading an interview from you earlier today. I think it was maybe a year ago or early in 2020, where they asked you, how do you prepare? And you said, I would suggest you go and do like a solo day hike. Don't go and just
say in a town, in a suburbia. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's great advice. And I think even people see these hikes and they don't realize, like you said, the background that goes into it. And they're like, oh, I could do that. I saw him do it. It's not that hard. And he was doing a camera. But the reality is, like, if you get out there and it's 82 degrees in the morning and you're going up 3,000 feet in elevation and you don't bring a sweatshirt or a hoodie or the right blanket or comforter, sleeping bag, you could be in a world of hurt out 10 miles from where you started, and you never know what's going to happen. So doing those little steps was really great advice. And I think even just to grow your subscriber base or bring in people a little bit closer to you, it might be cool to show them, hey, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to do a quick preparation for a single day hike in, I don't know, Hoboken.
Yeah. I don't think many people are going out there in seriously dangerous situations.
Yeah.
Maybe every so often. I would say it's more so these people are going out there with crazy expectations about what they're going to experience, and they don't have fun because they're carrying too much stuff. They just had the wrong idea of how many miles they could do per camp. So they get to camp 5 miles and that's all they plan for the day. And they're just sitting there for 7 hours with nothing to do. And yeah, I've seen it. I've seen that look of people who are just kind of bored out there, have too much stuff. And the weather can be a big, if it rains, it's not fun. So if you're out there on your first hike, you have too much stuff, it's all getting wet, you just don't have enough food, and you're just sitting around. Yeah, it might not be fun.
So let's keep going back to you're graduating high school, you head off to college. And I saw.
Ooh, I've hidden a lot of my past, so good luck.
So
I've done a big scrubbing of my past. I'm curious to see where you go with this.
You do a lot of scrubbing, which is pretty interesting. I like that, because we could talk about the YouTube channel. It starts at vlog 51, but we'll get there. So yeah, like I was reading another interview about you, and it said, when you went to college is kind of when it snapped that's when you saw YouTube as a tool, and you could start to maybe make this an opportunity for a business. And I was thinking in my head, I remember when Drew and I were freshmen in college, and there was not at all a thought of an entrepreneurial side, or like this could be something, could be a business, especially not YouTube. We use it as a medium to like pregame and watch videos with our friends. So I was really impressed with that observation. So I just wanted to ask a little bit about, where does the entrepreneurial spirit come from in you?
Yeah. So there's an entire chapter of my life dedicated to the wedding industry.
Yep.
So I started shooting weddings in high school, and that was my main moneymaker going all the way through college. And about halfway through college, did an internship with MTV in New York City. And I loved that, living in New York City, but hated the internship in MTV. So I wrapped up college as quickly as possible just to get to New York City. And then once I landed my feet in Brooklyn to live there, I dedicated towards weddings. But you're correct. When I graduated college, partly through college, I started Wedding Film School, which was a YouTube channel just to teach other people how to shoot weddings. And there was a point at which it became more fun than shooting weddings. And I was having way more success and starting to make way more money teaching people and making tutorials and reviews and doing workshops and coaching calls, speaking at conferences. And that was an aha moment. I'm like, it's almost more fun to teach people how to do this thing than to do the thing itself. So YouTube kind of has this way of morphing your career. It's like you start out doing this one thing, but then you end up changing. It's like the same thing with travel. I don't know. So that whole chapter wrapped up when I sold the channel, which happened about 2 years ago. And I've definitely scrubbed my name a bit from the wedding industry and a hard 180 into travel and hiking.
And so let's go back before that. So, obviously you fell in love with the concept of shooting film and video and all of that. Where did that start in your childhood?
Yeah. So I had a small camera and we were just making videos with friends. It was really fun to see the reaction of people when they would watch, and more so to see the reactions after you did an edit of the same video that you showed them. That was interesting to me, to see how I could change my editing, make it shorter, make it snappier, and then people would have a more positive reception to that. So that just made me want to shoot more and tinker more with the editing. Yeah. And then going to school for television film arts, it was great to finally be among other people who were like me, because my friends put up with my filmmaking and acted in my little sketches and things. But it wasn't until college that I found some kind of community of film nerds that I could like hang out with and shoot with.
And I think that's a great part about the collegiate lifestyle, is you're around like-minded people who are going down the same paths, and you can kind of get involved with that. I know that Workaholics was started in actually a community college, but those guys met in an acting class and improv. So being around those like-minded people can get you moving down in that direction. And so was shooting weddings just for simply monetary purpose, or was it really like, now, like you said before, I like seeing people's reactions? I mean, I watched my wedding video actually the night that we were with John. It was my wedding anniversary. So like we watched our video on Saturday, and the reaction that I had was amazing. So that must be the best reaction you can look for in a film.
Yeah, I was able to make video and shoot different stuff, but the stakes were always the highest when it came to wedding and event videography in general, especially wedding. It was interesting to be able to capture those emotions, and people cared more so than shooting a soccer highlight reel for a player who's graduating, or just some kind of corporate promo for a business. Weddings were a lot more important to people.
Yeah, it's arguably one of the greatest days of your life.
Yeah.
I'd say only maybe trumped by having a kid. That's a pretty good day too.
Yeah.
So that you create a business, and now you see that YouTube can be a business. And when did you decide that maybe I want to change my path, going from the wedding business and teaching people to saying, maybe I want to be my own brand? And when did that change?
Yeah. About 3 years ago was when I started shifting out of weddings with the eventual big sale of the channel and all the assets of the Wedding Film School brand. I had started vlogging in the Casey Neistat format, just being in New York City with other people who were making videos on YouTube, that was enough to make it interesting to me and fun. It's definitely a weird part of my filmmaking career. It's kind of cringy when I look back on those videos, and you probably won't be able to find most of them. I think most of them are gone. Some people keep every video they shoot online, but I've gone back and forth and kind of ended at, I would like to curate exactly what people see.
That's a very brand oriented observation though, and it makes sense because you had already created you've already created a brand with the wedding film school, so you understand those steps to get there. And I would say the majority of the people that we've talked to who have gotten to like where you are, they've made enough business acumen throughout the maybe mistakes that they've made or the learnings that they've had to get to create and understand that they're a brand.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense.
I just had way more fun traveling and doing my own thing, I guess. Yeah. Part of me was seeing it was fun to be the face of the wedding film school brand, and to, I don't know, it's weird to say that it was fun to make it about me, but I just enjoyed having the creativity or the freedom to make whatever I wanted. Yeah, you can put the effort in and make interesting wedding films differently and go out of the box a little bit, but I just wanted to get out of that formulaic, here's a wedding, shoot a wedding, deliver a wedding thing.
And so going back, where were you introduced with this entrepreneurial spirit? Where did someone bring it upon you, or did you just learn it through life, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I had some really interesting coffee meetup sessions with my friend John Exley. He's my oldest friend in the city. We grew up pretty close back in our hometown, but he moved to the city before I did, and then started working for a startup called Yieldmo, which sold mobile advertising, competing with Facebook back in the day. And we would read Gary Vaynerchuk. We would consume Bloomberg-esque type media. He was one of the first people to jump on Twitter that I know. Yeah, huge inspiration for me. And it was just part of the thing of moving to New York City, to always try to go out, meet up with as many people as you can, having coffee meetup sessions. It's definitely a fast-paced lifestyle living in the city. And yeah, I just surrounded myself with people who are creating, video people, photographers. And I just think the entrepreneurial spirit just came from seeing the successes of people around me and getting excited for them, and, you know, working with each other.
And how about you have a very interesting approach that resonates with me a lot, with the minimalism, with your approach to making videos, and that it's directly to the point. Somebody wants to watch a hike, they're going to go watch a hike, and it's going to be that hike in its unadulterated form with some great music in the background. Mm-hmm. It's apparent in the way that you sort of conduct yourself as well. And you just use that word curated, that it seems you put a whole lot of thought into every action that you do and every word that you speak. I'm curious where you learned that skill of self-awareness and being able to be analytical on your own actions and how you conduct yourself and how you present yourself as a person, as a brand. Because I don't think that's something that is taught explicitly. I think it's something that is maybe learned through experience or by other people's example.
I think everyone has an idea of how they would like the world shaped around them, their environment, what they create, the people that they're with, and how they want to conduct themselves publicly, privately. But I think most people just have too much going on. They just don't have enough time and focus to carry out those plans, to curate their world and make it the way they want. I have put a lot of effort into just eliminating distractions so that I only have maybe like 5 things I have to worry about that shape the world around me. And that just gives me so much control and power and precision. So I'm very in tune with everything that I do. I just think so many people have so much going on that it's almost impossible for them to do it, even though I think deep down, most people have strong opinions about what they would like to do.
Yeah. What sparked you to want to eliminate distractions or to sort of get things down to the fundamentals, because I think a lot of people take pride in saying, I'm so busy, I have all these things going on. And there's almost a sort of, like pride to it. Like I'm important because I'm busy. So what was it in your life that made you want to sort of go the opposite direction and say, I want to eliminate things and I want to eliminate those distractions so I can get down to what's important to me?
I don't think there was anything until one moment. I'll talk about that moment. But before then, I don't think there was anything special about me or my upbringing that caused me to become a minimalist or think about these things. Maybe just living in New York City and constantly being bombarded by people who might be operating at a bad faith or inauthentic in some regard. Slowly picking up a fifth sense to smell that out made me self-aware and stop to look at myself. Like, do I do these things? Like, do I talk that way? Do I make these promises and then just break them and not care? So I guess that self-awareness gradually happened, just being dropped into New York City and the influencer community in this area. But I did have a moment in my life where I felt out of control. Towards the back end of my vlog career, I felt like I wasn't making anything that really mattered. And I felt like I was just flaunting because I saw other people have success with that. Just making excitement out of thin air seemed a bit crazy to me. So I definitely had a quarter life crisis in a sense and got rid of everything. It started to regain control over my life. And then once I had some amount of control over the steering wheel, I think that confidence and that control brought more success and it started to snowball. So I definitely had to hit some kind of foundation that I brought upon myself. It wasn't like a depression kind of foundation, kind of rock bottom hitting. And then I can only go up from there. And I feel like I've definitely snowballed into a good place at this point.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it. And sort of one more question I'd like to ask in this train, which is, what skills did you gain through that experience that make you feel that now you are in that better place?
Self-confidence comes from, for me, the freedom of mobility, freedom of expression, freedom of creativity. All the decisions that I make myself. So good or bad, it's on me. So I don't have anyone else to blame. I don't have that much to worry about. And as far as skills, yeah, just man, skills. Yeah, that's a good question.
If I may, not to put words in your mouth, but you had a great quote in one of your videos. You said the ability to put up with suffering is expertise.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
that might be a good skill to maintain, I think.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. And it's definitely affected my relationships with other people, because as I test where rock bottom is, the foundation of what I can put up with, I don't want to pull other people into that. So I've definitely had to go through different phases of including people and changing my social circle as far as the close, tight-knit friends or other people that I give energy to. So, but yeah, putting up with suffering is a weird thing that I don't think most people talk about because it might rub them the wrong way, but I'm kind of fascinated with figuring out what I can put up with. Because any growth comes from some kind of discomfort. And I think it's a skill that you can practice. I can literally sleep in the rain, in the dirt with nothing and just get through it. And I feel like I would gain something from that. Like I make that joke all the time. Like whenever I visit my family, they're like, we're gonna let you, we got a couch that you can sleep on. I'm like, I'm fine with anything. Just put me anywhere. I'm happy. Whether it's food, where you can sleep, boredom is something that people suffer through a lot these days, and they'll just pick up their phone every second they get bored. So every aspect of our life, you can be testing yourself to grow as far as putting up with suffering a bit.
Yeah, I think that really enables a person to take the steering wheel, grab a hold of the steering wheel. And some of the greatest stories that stick with me are just the crazy stories of survival, like the story of the Uruguayan rugby team that crashed up in the Andes, or the story of Ernest Shackleton's expedition to Antarctica in 1917, or the climbers that were climbing in Patagonia and Peru. And it's just like witnessing other humans going through that. And then you can just say, well, they're human too. And they're not that far off from what I am. So if they can put up with that, I can put up with some boredom, right?
Yeah. Broadening your perspective and humbling yourself is something we should do on the daily for sure. Because whatever problem we think we're dealing with, there's always someone above and below. So you just have to put that in perspective.
And the current economy that we live in is much the opposite of everything that you guys are talking about, because everything is about consuming as much crap as you can from Amazon and making your life as more comfortable, as more all these things. You can get anything you want shipped to you in 20 or 48 hours or less. So it's quite the opposite. You can fill yourself with as many gadgets and tools to distract yourself from everything in life and as comfortable as you are. So you're not really testing or suffering at all in that sense. Right?
Yeah. People seem to be on autopilot.
Yeah. So I want
to be that way.
I want to go back to one other thing that I picked up in one of your videos. I think it was the 60 miles alone, and I'm going to butcher this in Horstander.
I say Hornstrandir, but I also am memed a lot for saying things wrong anyway. Torres del Paine.
I'm going to butcher. I'm notoriously bad at math on this. I told the CrossFit community that there's only about 300,000 of them. Definitely not. There's a lot more of them. And I'm very bad at it.
That's not a community you want to upset.
I'm going to get a barbell thrown at me. And then, so I think in that one you discussed the style of the video and you paid tribute to Daniel Day-Lewis. And I feel like that's a really, I love watching movies and I really love watching his movies. And I think that's a very specific style. Like my wife would definitely not like to watch any of his films. And where did you find your affinity for film? And was it in college and watching movies with like-minded people, or where did you come about that?
Yeah, we studied traditional films in classes in school in the television film arts major. My interests are definitely slower, more drama, probably sci-fi in a sense. I just feel like the bulk of movies are fast-paced and similar in that sense. So a slower movie like There Will Be Blood, or No Country for Old Men, stands out. So I appreciate that. The Master, any P.T. Anderson's good stuff.
I like that. I feel like it fits very well, and I can see the nods to the styling in the films that you create, because they're really not necessarily YouTube videos. They're very much so small films, and you do a great job of creating that, because there's so many other people, and I want to say the similar category or industry that just put up video and you can hear walking on the trail and you can hear all these other things, and it's much different. And I think that's what drew me once Drew showed me your channel. That's what drew me in and made me want to keep watching. So you change your direction and you're going from the wedding industry, and now you're on the brand of Kraig Adams and you're building your own brand. So if you go to your channel today, the current first video is vlog 51. It's an interesting start.
Is it?
Yes. As of this afternoon, unless you have.
I don't even know what vlog 51 is.
I'm going to pull it up.
I'm sure. I'm just getting some context on what that actually is.
My clicking of my mouse. Hopefully it doesn't adjust the zoom.
Oh, road trip to Alaska?
Yep.
Okay.
So when I was watching it was vlog 51, and why the choice of removing or curating? How do you choose what stays and goes, and why is 51 the one you chose to be the first?
Yeah, so vlog 51, 52, 53, 54 are all joined into this road trip to Alaska video. I save everything I make, so the videos are still on the channel. They're just hidden.
Okay.
I think there's maybe 40-something videos public right now. I've got probably 500 videos on this channel. Oh, so that's a large percentage. There's way more hidden than showed. Why did I pick that one?
Yeah.
It's a good memory. I feel good about that video. It's something that I would go back and watch. So it's up on the channel. And I want my brother, my family to be able to see it publicly. So that's why it's there. I take down videos that I just don't feel proud about or I don't want people to see. And why I might have that feeling is just because I'm a different person. But then again, I've had this chat with other subscribers who defend the reason to keep them, and they say it shows growth. So rather than hiding the fact that I was a different person, there is some value to viewers to see that change. So I go back and forth on it.
Yeah.
I can see both sides of that statement. But at the same time, you're the captain of this ship. You can do whatever you want, you know?
I'm the captain.
Yeah, you are.
If I showed that footage, I would rewrap it into a format of self-reflection. So a good example of that is the minimalism video that I uploaded 4 months ago. That came out of me backing up old videos and going through those vlogs and realizing that there was a story here that wasn't told through the original uploading of those vlogs, but I could rewrap into a bigger, more important message in 2020. So if anything old comes back to the surface, it'll be rewrapped in a new context.
I like that. I think that's a great way to look back at self-reflection. It's a very, very interesting one. So let's talk a little bit about the channel. And we did a little bit of an Instagram reshare on your side. We got about 100 questions, and I did it very late today, and I apologize for that. But yeah, so we had a lot of questions, and some of them were about like, we'll start here. So this is a good one about the gear that you bring, and it's from Chang.Louis. And he said, what item do you regret the most? And that one stood out to me because I feel like so many people ask you, what do you like the best? But what do you regret having?
In a sense, I regret having a drone ever.
Wow. Really?
It will always be an addition. It'll never be the main camera, the main reason why I make videos. So it's just always secondary. It's a beautiful secondary in the right context.
Yeah.
And I think I can owe a lot of my success to drone shots. But I felt like I've definitely done it in the wrong way. So a lot of my drone shots some of them are technically illegal. And, you know, I've definitely changed my behavior as far as flying correctly, realizing that I have some amount of responsibility uploading videos and having so many impressionable minds watching it. So I've changed my tune in that sense. I struggle with going back and hiding, or at least putting disclaimers on old videos about where you should or shouldn't fly drones.
Yeah.
And I've thought about just getting rid of it because I would like to prove to myself that I'm just as fine as a filmmaker and I can do the same thing without this fancy addition.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's that was not exactly what I was expecting at all, but that is a great thing. That would be interesting to see the style change between that. And so with that question, with that kind of where we're at is, when you're planning a trip, what's Stephen_Cannon. That's an easy one. I think I got that one right. How much longer does it take you to hike when you're filming your hikes? And I think Drew and I both had this kind of styled questions. When you're planning your routes, because it seems like you're very detail oriented going into it, and then we can talk a little bit about that whole process. But when you're processing, looking at the topographical maps, getting all that research done, are you calculating the fact that you might have to walk, I don't know, 400 meters and then come back to get your camera? Is that part of the timeline that you're setting?
It doesn't really make that much of an impact in my planning. It's kind of impossible to figure out what the difference is by myself. The last 4 hikes that I did was with my brother, and we were both tracking. We had different companies and devices tracking, which might give some error, but we did actually notice, surprisingly, it was 20 mile hikes, and our distances were off by probably a mile to a mile and a half. So we were both surprised at how much that difference was. But then again, it could be me walking back to get the tripod, and also could be just different measurements of time. So as far as GPS tracking a line, it just matters on how much it pings.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So we'll never know. It's definitely more. I'm not faking it. I don't have secret people. In every video, there's like 4 or 5 comments that's like, he's not by himself. He has crew.
You're not Bear Grylsing it, staying at the closest Holiday Inn.
Yeah, that video of him like jumping over this ravine, but then the camera turns and there's just like a highway right there.
Right, yeah. In Hawaii. He's really roughing it. No, but I could see that though on the distance change, because when I run with my dad, he runs with he uses Map My Run. I use Strava, and then I have a watch that maps it. All 3 of them have different paces, different mileage, and different times that we did, and we start them at the exact same time.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but that's GPS. And so let's talk about like the process of choosing these hikes and how you get to where you want to go. And so do you choose like, hey, I was on, I don't know, all trails, and I found a really cool hike in, I don't know, Spain. I know you like Spain. So you find another hike there. Is that what triggered? España. Sorry. Yeah. Is that how you do it, or is it just by sheer chance? Like, I want to go to Germany, and then you start finding hikes.
Yeah, I've got a big list on All Trails of hikes that I've just found on my own. But like I said, there's a lot out there that I don't know. So I've been trying to ask for help as far as figuring out where to go. But I also go back and forth on that because I like the mystery of going to do a hike and not sharing about it at all, and then just uploading out of nowhere. I don't think I should ask the community where I should go next every single time. I feel like that's kind of lame. It's such a long list, and the weather and the climate, the season has so much to do with it. So there's definitely like different hot spots of the world depending on the month. My plan before COVID became a big thing was to just go to Italy. Like, I was super excited to just be in the Alps. So I want to get back to European Alps and back to Iceland because there's a lot to do on that island. Yeah, I just have an endless list of hikes that I would like to do, and it just depends on the temperature mainly. But I did just book today my next international hike, and I haven't been international in a while. So I'm excited to go out and do a solo hike, like the good old days, and attach some kind of travel to the end of that, is like relaxing after the hike in hotels with food. Because as fun as the hike is, it's also exciting for me to just show the culture in the city and the other things that make the trip. The thumbnail of the hike is what gets you out there. But I think a lot of people have even more fun walking around the city and getting to the hike and getting back from the hike. So,
And how far ahead is that? How far out are you planning that trip?
That's in a couple days.
Oh, wow. I'm glad we caught you today.
So I typically book everything. Yeah, that's in like 3 days. So.
Oh, no way. That's wild.
And so,
yeah.
Do you ever get the feeling? So I used to travel every week for work. And when I would go back to school or something like that, like to our college kids would be like, oh, that's so fun. It's so awesome. Like, you travel all the time. Like, it sucks. It really is like a strain. You don't actually, I guess it's different, right? I'm going to meetings and stuff like that. But at the same time, some of the travel that you're doing is for your job. And there is an expectation, I'm sure, underlying in you. Like, I've got to get the right shots. I've got to put some content together. I've got to do this. Do you ever feel that strain when traveling for YouTube?
I've just designed my trips and how I conduct myself to have fun. Like, I'm so relaxed. I travel alone because it's energy giving to me. I love being able to just do things last minute. That looks interesting. Let's go over there. Let's explore over here. Shoot this, shoot that. There's some kind of element of every hike, every trip that I actually don't shoot and record and share. I just keep it for myself. I'm just having fun. A lot of people treat these trips more like business trips, and they always have the camera in their hands. I've talked to my friends who have interacted with much larger traditional traveling YouTubers with like millions of subscribers, and they usually describe them as just always being on, always capturing, getting that content, as they say. And that's just not me. I'm out there to enjoy myself, and I'm just capturing the experience as it happens, as long as it's fun for me. So
And
I
so when
I have fun when I travel. It's always relaxing. I'm a big coffee guy. I like getting good food and just walking around. I walk in the cities on the sidewalks here in New York City and all the different places that I visit almost as much as I hike in nature. So I should start recording that and making city hiking videos.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
when you are out on a hike and you're not concerned about getting content or filming anything, and you just have that alone time to yourself, what's occupying your mental space, if anything at all?
I'm hungry. I'm tired. Yeah, I like the athletic aspect of hikes. A lot of people in the comments, some people, it's, the negative, the things that bother you always take up the bulk of your thoughts. But a couple people every so often are like, "You're doing it too fast. Stop doing these hikes so fast. You're not enjoying yourself." But there is some level of me completing something efficiently, quickly, always having a sweat when I'm hiking. Um, that's fun for me, and that's why I would like to do more trail running, extreme sports, rock climbing, summiting peaks rather than just circling them at the base. So I'll definitely push it a little bit.
Have there ever been any times where you've found yourself, aside from that first time going with your brother when you were like, this isn't fun because I'm carrying all the gear, but since you've developed this deeper appreciation of hiking solo, have there been any times where you've found yourself in a situation feeling very uncomfortable or unprepared or just in danger?
Yeah. The start of the hikes, when you focus too much on the video, can kind of get you a little down a little bit, just because you have an expectation of what you want to capture for the hike. And at the beginning, you're still unsure if you're going to get that. If it's a 4-day hike and you're into the hike the first hour, you're still unsure if you're just going to get enough for the video. But that's a silly thought that I've gotten over. The first couple of hikes, I definitely had that feeling. One of the biggest moments where I felt weird was actually the Patagonia, Chile video. I guess I was unprepared for that hike because I arrived at the national park with no reservations, and I didn't do enough planning. So, and I also was trying the entire film on a tiny little point and shoot Sony RX100. So it was a challenge in a sense of, can I do a big grand cinematic hike with this consumer camera? So I actually started that hike, hiked 20 miles the first day, a big push, recorded, and then got to the campsite to sleep. Or I hiked 10 miles to the camp, got to the place, and they're like, "You can't stay here. You don't have a reservation." So I had to hike 10 miles back to where I came from, take the 5-hour bus ride back to town, defeated, and start over again and convince myself, get the motivation to go back out, do the exact same 10 miles, record it again because the weather had changed, this time with reservations. So there was a moment when I got back to town after that first failure, the first 2 days, because I actually slept out on the trail. So it was like hike out, fail, come back, sleep, come back to town, start over again. So I didn't add that extra mileage to the, what is it, 80 miles? Yeah, technically I did 100 miles for that hike.
Oh, goodness.
No one knows though.
Oh, a secret's safe here.
Yeah, don't tell me.
So how do you choose when to take a shot? Like, what is it, just when you're walking and you see beauty, or is there specific shots that you go into this with? Is there a shot list like that?
Yeah. I've been shooting video enough to know what is interesting to me. I can picture exactly what it'll look like on screen through the camera just by looking at it with my eyes. And I'm very conscious about the pacing, so the variety of shots. I think a lot of people starting out are probably going to overexpose, but then also shoot the same shot over and over again. So I guess that's a matter of efficiency. I probably shoot way less than most people. And that just comes from knowing what I need and only getting that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also a million different ways to do the exact same thing. So someone could go on the exact same hike and make a 60-second video. That's awesome. Someone could make a 2-hour video. It just depends on the expectations of the audience who's clicking to watch.
Do you take notes?
Me personally, I'll probably shorten. I would like to move towards, I'm in a weird middle ground right now. I'm surprised that people stand around or watch my videos when they're as slow and long as they are. That surprised me. And I feel like I'm in a middle ground. I'd like to separate my videos into snappier, punchier highlights and another set of videos that are even slower, even longer, even more relaxing, because the 4-hour video was a test.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
So picture a 4-hour video for every single hike that I go on, but then also in addition, a highlight video that's probably half the length of what I typically upload. And then those two videos working together on the same channel for two different types of audience.
Like
That's
one
really
of the
interesting.
Mount Hood hikes, something of that length.
Yeah.
933.
I would say the Zion hike, even though it's just a day hike, again, it's content density. You could do a week-long hike and put it into a 2-minute video. Just depends. Because there's two different types of audience. There's people who are trying to relax and zone out, maybe with it multitask playing in the background. And then there's also people who are legitimately looking for inspiration on where they should hike themselves. And they just want to watch a bunch of different locations with the best clips. So yeah, different types of people to satisfy different expectations. And if I'm there recording with the camera, why not record it all and do both?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really smart.
And so do you take notes during this timeline? Are you journaling while you're walking? Or are you saying like, hey, I just was walking here and I saw this, it was a great shot. This is the reasons why. So then when you go back and edit, you have some context to yourself, or do you remember it clearly like that?
Yeah, interesting. For the first couple of hikes, I wasn't making guides. I was just sharing the experience of the hike. And then I started to realize that anyone who watches this video probably has questions because they're answering them or asking them in the comments. So I started to try to preemptively answer those comments with a guide at the end of the video. And people are like, why don't you separate them into 2 videos? But I'm like, the people who watch the guide are going to watch the intro. So I like putting them together. And I did not take notes at the beginning because I wasn't making guides. But once I started making guides, I took a lot of notes as I was hiking. And now I've kind of stopped doing that. I've kind of let go a little bit of teaching people how to go. And I just give the basics. I've kind of put less effort into that. So I've stopped taking notes on the hike. Yeah. It's more about just like, what's the distance? What are the expectations? When should you go? Kind of stuff.
That makes sense.
So on the video that I actually have scheduled for tomorrow at 9 a.m., hiking 20 miles to Reflection Canyon in Utah, I have a new method of doing the guide where most of it is in this format. I just have this camera, this microphone, lower bottom of the video as I record my screen, and I'm just zooming through Google Earth. With the hike, I drew a nice little line showing the route of the hike, and I just fly through like a magical drone that can go up to 50,000 feet and then go all the way down to show the exact angle of what I saw of like the best view. So talking as I go through and talk, like show, I think that's the way that my guides are going to go in the future because it shows a lot in a fun way. So
yeah,
that's new.
Sort of on this topic, a little bit of a tangent, but you mentioned interacting with your subscribers. How do you approach responding to comments and interacting with your subscribers, especially given your advocacy for eliminating distractions in one's life?
Yeah, I've pretty much stopped engaging with the community whereas it was like 100% during the Casey Neistat vlog era. I've probably gone down to probably 5% interaction with the community, just because I wasn't getting as much value out of putting that time and energy into it. There is some value that comes from rewarding your top 5% super fans, because they can give a lot back to the community just through your encouragement. So I guess that's all I do at this point. But I would be probably fine never seeing another YouTube comment ever again. Yeah, just because it does a lot of damage to my self-esteem. And like I said, the negative overpowers the positive. And there's just YouTube comments for me probably are like, there's probably 1% actually negative toxic. It's probably 80% that's just vanilla fluff, like doesn't need to be said. There's kind of pointless. And then the rest, 9% is like constructive and adds to the experience that I'm kind of glad I saw. So it's just kind of pointless to me at this point.
So speaking of YouTube, you have 527,000 subscribers, 47 videos are visible, 20.5 million views, and 3 of those videos are over 1 million, and 2 of them are very close to 1 million views. That's a big milestone for any YouTuber to hit 1 million views on a video. What was it like when your first video hit 1 million?
Yeah, Hornstrandir went from 50,000 views to 1 million within 3 days.
Holy cow.
I was on a hike with some other people, and we came out after being in the woods for 2 days, airplane mode, and we're just sipping coffee, and I look at my phone and I'm like, what's going on? And I noticed that it had jumped up to probably 250,000 views like overnight while I was on the hike. And yeah, just driving back to the city from the Adirondacks, that's where I was, and then flying out to link up with Curtis. It was just really weird scrolling and refreshing and seeing it finally hit 1 million. Yeah, it made me stop and reevaluate the relationship of my channel's success from subscribers versus the algorithm. So since then, I've definitely paid more attention to satisfying YouTube's algorithm than satisfying subscribers. And I guess that's where the sentiment of engaging with the community comes from. It might sound cold, but it's just, I'm going to dedicate my time and effort into what yields results. And right now, if you look deep into my analytics, 80% of my views come from the algorithm recommendations.
Wow.
So if you look at the 500,000 subscribers, that as of this point isn't making that big of a difference. I think if you cut off, 80% to 20% is a good idea. So to what degree do I owe my success to me convincing people to click a button to receive the videos that I promised them, and then closing that trust loop, versus me creating a YouTube thumbnail that random people will click on and watch? It's kind of a hard truth, but yeah, the subscribers don't matter as much as they did before. They still matter. But it's also so different because once again, I've been over probably 2 or 3 of the thresholds where to get the attention of the algorithm, you just have to have attention. And the first hour after an upload makes or breaks your video. And then if you have your click after impression rate up, mine is usually about 3 to 4%. 5% is like amazing. So this is 5% of people who YouTube shows your thumbnail to somewhere on the site. They click it. 5% of those people, that's a huge success. If YouTube shows your thumbnail and spends that energy, time, and money advertising your video to people and you get 0.1% of people clicking on it after they get the impression, it's going to cut that off really quickly and then not recommend your videos in the future. So it's weird. Starting out is tough. I have done 5 years, probably 5 or 6 years of like hard work to get to this point. And my success continuing here on is only because I've built upon those 5 years. So it's really hard for me to give advice to people starting out. It's tough. It's really difficult. And like I'm starting over on Twitch in a sense with a brand new audience, but I can still pull and extract some attention from YouTube and Instagram, my established platforms, to give me a leg up, but it's still difficult. And it's almost enough to make me not want to do it. So I cannot imagine like a 15-year-old starting with 0 subscribers, 0 interest. Like, how do you upload one after another and try to make some kind of plan? Oh, it's got to be devastating. It's really hard for me to give advice to people starting out because it takes time. Oh, man.
And I think right now the biggest problem is people don't think that. They don't understand that it takes this long of a long time. I mean, we were talking about GMM earlier, but they posted like 3 or 4 years of videos before they really started going. They're on season 18 now, so it's like the snowballs rolling down the mountain. Mm-hmm. But so many people that we talk to say the same thing, and it's a long haul. This is not an overnight success story, and you've got to be ready to do that. And I think the expectation from so many kids is like they watch an Instagrammer and they see them, they have 1 million subscribers on Instagram or followers on Instagram. And it's like, oh, I could just do that. But they don't realize that that person has been posting for thousands of days in a row and making all of their time towards this. So it's a full-time job for them. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. And yeah. I'm glad that you say that, because it really does take time and the expectation needs to be set correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'm experiencing with Twitch, I guess, would translate to any platform like YouTube. I'm at this point making sure every second that I go live is of value and isn't wasted. And I'm working alongside other Twitch streamers who are similar, above and beyond, or above and below my level of attention grab, just to help them out, because it'll be reciprocal in a sense. They'll help me out as far as rating or promoting or just going live on each other's channels. And that's just, rising tide rises all ships or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's weird going back to square one with starting on a new platform. But like I said, I definitely wouldn't do this if I didn't have a YouTube channel.
And it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like that. It's very obvious that you are employing those skills of self-awareness to build up a good plan for where you're taking your YouTube channel next. You've mentioned that you're getting some international travel coming up already. You've mentioned some really interesting ideas about sort of branching your channel off into shorter, more condensed videos versus the longer format videos. But you personally and with your channel, what are the next milestones? What are the goals over the next year or two that you would like to accomplish with your channel?
Yeah. So one of the big thresholds is income. And I feel like I've gotten over a massive bump as far as having more control over what I do, when I want, and how I want, as far as the videos I upload. So I would like to phase out almost all sponsorship, third-party sponsorship, and just do Google and Amazon as far as affiliate links in the description, and then just Google ads playing on my videos. And then that will just give me all of the control in where I go and what I do. I would like to increase the quantity and lower the quality, increase the quality and lower the quantity of my uploads to almost like once a month, maybe once a season, so that the expectations are raised for when people see an upload, they're going to watch an upload. I would like to double down on the algorithm I think the more I upload similar videos to what is already working, it'll work, but still experiment in some sense as far as what I want to do. Like I said, trail running videos aren't doing as well on my channel, but it's fun for me. So I'm going to keep doing those. I'm not going to upload Twitch highlights or compilations to the main channel. It's pretty niche into the hiking genre right now. So that's why I'm going to start a second channel that'll just be re-uploads from Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as milestones, though, just want to keep traveling. It's just really fun to see these different places. Probably going to hide a couple more videos eventually. Yeah. The more I say this, the more people are going to like download them and re-upload them. So.
Yeah. I'm keeping these. I'm going to need these one day.
They're always going to be there. Don't worry about it.
You can always bring them back. They're not going anywhere at all. So I have a couple questions. So we talked about it. I'm going to say España, right? For going to Spain. And it seems like almost in every interview you gave, you've talked about Picos de Europa and that hike being so profound to you. What was it that drew you to not only being such a fan of Spain, but that hike in particular?
So I had a subscriber actually fund that trip. He flew me out. He drove from Madrid up to the location and did all of the research. So I vetted him as much as I felt comfortable to do, but I didn't know anything about the hike at all. So he was the one that gave me all of the trail information, the all trails download once we got there. And I was a little nervous making the long drive up until the moment when I saw the mountains and the clouds kind of parted as we were driving. I'm like, wow, that's massive. That's going to be exciting. We got up there. He injured himself, so he wasn't actually able to hike. So that was also like a weird moment. I'm like, this guy brought me all the way out here. He can't even hike. Like, that's such a bummer. I feel bad for him and guilty doing this. Like, should I just not do the hike? Just to, like, hang out with him? He's like, no, go. And so I had this expectation of hiking with this random person that I was like, becoming friends with and getting comfortable with. And then all of a sudden, I'm just by myself for 5 days. And every day it changed the landscape. Every day I just interacted with wonderful people coming into these small little towns as the fog parted, meeting dogs in the middle of nowhere. The food was wonderful. It was so alien to me and exciting. Every single day there was something new. And yeah, I was in good shape. I didn't have any blisters. I didn't have any issues as far as my gear, my food, my fitness. It was a perfect hike. And the last day was just so wonderful, getting to a refugio after a massive elevation gain. At one point I was like making crazy noises because I finally found water. Everyone makes fun of me for that noise I made, but hey, you weren't there. You don't understand how good that water was. And this refugio was just beautiful. The people were so nice. They like made home cooked meals. They took a credit card. Some of the places were like cash only. So I would get starving and tired to a place and they'd be like, cash only. I'm like, I don't have any cash.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's the little things.
Was some of that hike overlapping with the Camino de Santiago?
I'm not sure if it actually did. I want to say it was above it, maybe.
Okay.
I did see the Atlantic Ocean for parts of it. And I think the Camino travels along it. People recommend that all the time, but I think it's more of a flatter, more culture rich than nature and elevation.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
I'll do it eventually. I would love to. Yeah.
So that goes back to another point of like hiking alone. Obviously, it's got to be terrifying the first time. But hiking with other people, what to you, do they both serve a purpose? I know you're hiking a lot with your brother now, back to the roots of where this might have started. What are your thoughts on both of them?
Yeah. A lot of people have expressed that they don't think they could ever hike by themselves. Being in New York, I eat at restaurants by myself. And I remember my older sister, who has like 3 kids, telling me, she's like, that's so weird. Like, I've never gone to a restaurant by myself. Like, you do that like once a month? I'm like, I do it every day. So hiking and being alone is probably easier for me than most people. I just love being able to just go at my own speed. If I was not making a video, I think it'd be more fun to hike with other people, camping, talking, drinking, goofing around. If I did the PCT, the 2,500-mile stretch from Mexico to Canada, yeah, it's the people that make that fun. It would be insane to be 4 months by yourself and to come out the other end in any kind of sanity. Hiking with my brother is fun just because we know each other and we're good friends. I shy completely away from doing like group tours with other people. I feel like I wouldn't want to be a babysitter in that regard. The hiking alone is just so fun when you're shooting a video because I don't have to ask anyone questions. I don't feel bad about making people stop or, wanting to spend an extra half an hour on this ridge just because it's really peaceful. Yeah, it's just the best when a little dog comes up and starts to follow you along the trail. That's the best kind of company in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna say you should get a dog, bring a dog along with you.
Tried that in the Adirondacks with my family dog, but it's a lot of responsibility, and I think it's just best when some random dog comes up. So that makes me want to go back to Nepal or Peru. There are so many trail dogs that are just happy to get a little morsel of food if they follow you a couple miles.
So one other thing that I think is a really great part of your past is you were nominated for the Breakout YouTuber Award for the Shorty Awards. What did that feel like? Like to be recognized among your peers in that sense?
I could care less.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't go. I just didn't care. I just don't like award shows and nothing about that interests me.
So what is meaningful then that you do accomplish from your YouTube channel?
Just being able to express myself. However, I don't like the idea of people telling me what I should or shouldn't create. And, my channel will always be my brand, and my brand is whatever I'm interested in at that point. So right now it's hiking, and it's definitely going to change in the future. So whoever wants to follow me on that part of the journey will, and people who don't will leave, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, but you're being the truest to yourself, and that's really you. There's two people who are out there: the people who want to please anyone and create a fake persona, and then there's those who want to be a real person. Yeah. There's definitely a place for both on YouTube.
Yeah.
Especially with the vlog revolution that we're going through, right? That's a whole nother world, and I think that it's a very interesting path, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. And so I think we have 2 more subscriber questions. I think _will_ we got yours here. Also Diana Souza 04. I think you answered if you're quiet on hikes, right? What do you think about? I think one that we both, Drew and I, were interested in is you've talked a lot about running, and I think you just posted a video running through New York, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so Rasta Bunnett asked, what's your workout routine for long hikes? And is it mainly just running?
Yeah, I walk a lot in the city, so I could probably pull up the stats. But I would say average at least 6 miles a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, 6 miles, but averaging every single day for years, it's a lot. So I like to listen to podcasts, do phone calls, and New York City is just a walking city. So that's why I like it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't do anything crazy to prepare for these hikes. Just doing the hikes themselves kind of keeps me in walking condition. In the summer, I definitely work out more. The winter, I usually gain 10 pounds. And then as soon as the spring comes, I whip myself back into shape. That usually happens every year. I don't do anything too crazy. I grew up playing soccer, and in normal years, I'm playing soccer on turf fields in leagues during the summer. And then in the winter, I'm playing indoor. So Yeah. And then I would be rock climbing in gyms right now if that was a thing I could do. Yeah. Nothing too crazy.
How about prepping for altitude, like when you went to Cusco?
Yeah. It's just about slowly getting used to it. You
Yeah.
can prepare just by chilling at cafes and restaurants. Um, Cusco, the first time I flew in there, which was, wow, was it 7 years ago? I've been to Peru 3 times now. And the first time I flew into Cusco was the first time I really felt altitude sickness, and it knocked me out for a day. And it's weird because it's
Yeah.
like a headache that you just can't get rid of no matter how much water or medicine you take. It's just like knocks you out. And I think I was drinking like an idiot that night. So it was
Get some
a rough,
pisco, you'll be in some trouble.
yeah, some Cusquiana, what is it, cerveza? But yeah, it was rough.
Peru is a very fascinating country. I think it's such an interesting place. The Atacama Desert, I tell my students about it sometimes, and it's so cool. Like just a few weeks ago, they found a new Nazca line.
Wow.
It's like this drawing has been in this desert for 2,000 years untouched, and we just discovered it in
Yeah.
November of 2020. It's wild.
It's a beautiful country, a lot of great food, a lot of great people. It's pretty cheap to get to from the US, and there's a ton of hiking. I have been there 3 times for a reason. I'll definitely be back when the temperature is correct. So much to do.
And so my final question is, I think we've talked about where you're going, but it seems like most of your hiking up until now, you've done a lot of domestic hiking, has been international. And the change from 100-mile hike to a 2,000, I mean, if you're going to go all the way from border to border, it's what, 2,300 miles?
Yeah.
The PCT?
Yep.
What was the spark that changed the kind of 5, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 day hike to a 40-day hike?
Yeah, the PCT is pretty special and unique in the world. There are some longer treks in Europe and the Middle East and different places that have been there for thousands of years, but the PCT is pretty new and very connected as far as not that many roads. It's all trail. A lot of it is just foot only, like no cars could follow, compared to more European Alps and different stuff like that, just because of how young it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's quickly becoming popular. And I would like to hike it sooner than later, just because I know it'll degrade in experience years from now. So that was my main motivation for jumping into that head first. I don't know if I'm ready to do that long of a hike. It's more of a mental game. And me trying to shoot video would add to the difficulty of mentally keeping up with it and putting up with that pain, I guess. Yeah, more so than other people who are just hiking to escape, you know. So I might do it in the future. I don't have any, you have to apply for it. And even though I got into the lottery for 2020, I postponed that just because of what was going on. I have no plans to do the PCT in 2021, but we'll see.
2022 could be the year. Well, hey, I appreciate the time today, and I had a fantastic time talking to you. It's just so easy and fun to do, and I look forward to the future of your channel and maybe getting on a trail run with you one day. That'd be super fun. And yeah, man, link up when we're in the city.
Yeah, thanks for chatting. I can tell you guys actually cared, which is great. Like the questions were great, and you listened just as much as you asked questions. So it was great. Thank you.
Well, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, we appreciate that. This has been a great thing for Drew and I know that we've told you before this, like YouTube is this amazing tool. It's the number 2 search engine in the world behind Google, which is its parent company. And it's such an eclectic group of people. And it's so amazing to see that every person you see who is posting onto YouTube is truly just a regular human. And they're just they're great people, and they love the community in every way. So I appreciate you saying that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. Definitely appreciate your time with us today. And I really admire what you're doing. Out of a lot of videos that I've watched over this past, through 2020, yours have really stuck out, just being very unique. And yeah, I appreciate how genuine they are.
Thanks.
So thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. And we'll link all of his channel, his I guess we'll link Twitch. I have no idea what Twitch is all about, so that'll be another day. Drew the same way. But yeah, we'll link all of his social media below. Make sure you get out there, follow him. And thanks so much for listening. We appreciate everyone who came on or watched. This will be on the YouTube channel. So thanks, guys.